Hi folks, it's Andy. Welcome to this week's Kendo rant. We've got loads of fantastic questions for you today, right on this side of the screen. As you can see, we've got plenty to go through. There's some fantastic questions here. Thank you very much, everybody, for submitting them. We've got quite a varied array of questions, some from YouTube comments, some from emails that were sent to me directly, and as well from the Kendo Show Early Access group on Facebook. That's the best place to post them, actually. So if you're not in that group, make sure you are in it. So we'll get right to these because I want to get through them. Some of them will probably require quite in-depth answers as well, but before we jump in, don't forget to support the channel, like, share, subscribe, all that sort of YouTube stuff. You know that already, but most importantly, support the channel by shopping at KendoStar.com. It's a pretty obvious choice anyway when you're looking for a Kendo supply because we're the best in the business. If you don't believe me, of course I would say that as I own it, but if you don't believe me, you can see what our customers say on Trustpilot and all of our reviews and all like that. They're all 5 stars, better than everyone else. So yeah, shop at KendoStar. It pays for this. So yeah, do that. First off, do you have any advice on how to join a federation? I've emailed a couple of the federations in the US and I haven't got any response. For most of the website ask you what affiliated dojo you belong to when you try and apply. And since our dojo is beyond not official, I wasn't sure how to go about this. I want to be able to test for Shodan in the summer fall time, but I know you have to belong to the federation you're testing for. So I was wondering if you had any advice on how to get either the dojo registered or just a few of our practitioners. Secondly, what does the Shodan grading actually entail? I know it's different from federation to federation, country to country, but since we don't have access to anyone who's actually been through a grading, I was wondering what kinds of things are generally expected of you. Obviously, the ability to make strike with Yuko Datotsu and Kirikaishi are there. Are there kata requirements usually? I've heard talk of an exam. Well, what kind of things are usually asked? I just wanted to get a bit of an overview and make sure our group is studying and practicing the correct things for whenever we actually do get to go to grading. Good. So fantastic question. Really good question. This is from someone. This came to me by email. Last year, this person asked a question about how to start Kendo on their own without a dojo nearby. And I remember making what I was considering a controversial statement by saying, instead of kind of discouraging them from starting, to start and follow the videos that I've put out, particularly the Zero to Shodan. And I said that if they got back in touch with me a year later, I'd go out and visit them and teach them myself, which I definitely will still do. But obviously at the moment I can't because it's illegal to leave the country. So we're not able to do that. But as soon as we're able to, I'll be over there to help you guys. In terms of joining a federation, so you're in the US, right? So yeah, you need to get hold of your local federation in your state. So there is one. I'm sure of it, in your area, that sort of governs your area. Also, if you can't get in touch with them, it might be worth touching base with the is it the AUSKF, the All United States Kendo Federation, as well, and see if they can put you in touch with the right person and say that obviously you've got a dojo that you're hoping to register and what are the requirements to register the club, and it might be that you need to have a Dan grade as a teacher or stuff like that. I don't know. Different countries require different stuff. So find out what they need, and just do your best to try and get hold of them. Even if you can't get hold of the club, the federation, the local federation itself, see if you can get hold of another club that's in that federation. Maybe you can get in touch with somebody there, see if they can put you in touch with somebody. But you do need to do that. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to take a grade for Shodan. If there's hurdles that you encounter at that stage, like I say, if you need like a Dan grade as a teacher or something like that, let me know at that stage. We'll see what I can do to help you get over them. All right. secondly, about what does the actual grading entail? Like you said, it really does depend. Most of them, though, most Shodan gradings around the world tend to, lots of them examine kirikaishi, so you'll have to perform kirikaishi and receive kirikaishi. Not all of them, though, it depends. They might not do that in the US. I've never been to a grading in the US. So they may or may not ask you to do that. Some places do. And then they'll probably nearly everywhere ask you to do a short, what's called a jitsugi. It's like jigeko, so you'll actually do like a sparring match for a short period with usually 2 opponents. And then if you get through that stage, usually there will be a kata section where you'll have to do either the first 3 or the first 5 kata. It depends on where you are. So it's probably worth making sure you know up to the first 5 from both sides, because you don't know which side you'll do on the day. But yeah, again, just hit me up nearer the time let's get you over the first hurdle of getting you in a federation so you can take the grade, and then hit me up at that point and let's see if we can make sure we get you through that first Dan grade. I'll do everything I can to help you with that. All right. Okay, next one. Andy, would you tell us when the shinai is at the end of its life and a new one is needed? What are the indications? I know that there are cracks near the top, near the tip, and then obviously for safety reasons you need to retire it. My tsuba is getting loose and the tsuru slides left and right. It gets a bit annoying. So is that a good excuse to get a new KendoStar shinai? Thanks. Okay, so it's a bit hard to say. Obviously, if a shinai starts to splinter at the tip where you actually make the strikes, they often start to splinter quite a lot, and you can sort of shave them away a bit. But when that starts happening, you really need to start looking on the inside of the stave to see if they've cracked. What I tend to find is the shinai just go. I don't break many shinai, but when they go, they just go. It's like, okay, I've just found, I don't tend to find that they splinter. I think that's a bit of an issue with dryness, actually, if they splinter a lot, or that you're hitting the mengane a lot. So I don't tend to find splinters that much. But if it does splinter off, you need to look at your technique, because you'll probably find you're hitting the cage, the mengane, rather than the actual membuton. So definitely look at that. And then, yeah, when it's ready to be changed, it'll be cracked, properly cracked. They either go vertically or straight across. And then, yeah, you can't use it then, of course. If the scar and the tsuru is turning and stuff like that just needs tightening up. All right, it's not it doesn't mean you need a new shinai. As much as I'd like to tell you to buy a new shinai from KendoStar because of that, I'm not going to. All right, wait till it breaks and then buy one from KendoStar. Okay, but just retie it. I've done a video about how to retie the shinai. It's a bit of an old one. I will redo it soon. Okay, but yeah. Next one. Hi Andy, I've got a Kendo RANT question. What's the benefit of a hybrid or full titanium mengane? I'm new to Kendo and I don't have much experience, but I'm an engineer, and off the top of my head it seems that standard aluminium mengane wouldn't have any trouble stopping the shinai hits even after many years. Do the aluminium mengane eventually develop stress cracks on the top bars while the titanium ones won't? Aluminium is lower density than titanium and should produce a lighter mengane. Also, titanium is known to be fairly susceptible to stress corrosion cracks. So that's got me wondering why the titanium gets used. Thanks. Okay, so in KendoStar, we never use titanium mengane because I've done a video called The Ultimate Guide to Kendo Boga. It's like a webinar. It's like an hour-long video. But I talk a bit about it in that. We never use full titanium mengane. They are very heavy, much heavier than the other type of mengane, which is duralumin mengane. It's a type of aluminium alloy. It's very much like aluminium, as you say. We use that we use that across the board because it is perfectly strong enough. And the IBB version, which is the one that you'll find in our original Vanguard model and upwards, it actually has stronger reinforced bars at the top where it takes the strikes anyway, so you're not going to have to worry about the bending. The issue the mengane faces isn't so much strikes from the shinai, but it's collisions with other mengane. Okay, so when you do the incorrect or poor tayatari and the mengane clash together, you need to avoid doing that. It's not correct to do that. Then that can obviously cause the bars to bend. So you sometimes find that in Japan, the like very cheap boga sets that are meant for schools, where the people that are wearing it aren't Kendo experienced, they're doing it as part of their PE class. They have actually steel mengane, so it's very, 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 very heavy because of that. And obviously for other martial arts like Ju Kendo, where they use a hard wooden mokuju, it's called, an imitation rifle with a bayonet to thrust, that obviously could damage a duralumin mengane, so it's usually better to use a titanium mengane for that. But for Kendo, you don't really need a full titanium one. They came about around sort of 15-20 years ago, the titanium mengane. Titanium sounds is a bit like, you know, when they started using it in golf clubs. I don't know much about golf, maybe it really changed the game, but putting titanium mengane in a boga it's more of a sales point than a practical point, in my opinion. All right, yes, it's a bit stronger, it's much heavier, but to the layperson, this is a titanium one. It makes it sound more expensive, and you know, it was 100% a sales point. I don't even, it wouldn't surprise me, knowing how, I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to, knowing how the boga industry works in Japan, it wouldn't surprise me if the first company that started putting titanium mengane into boga, it wouldn't surprise me if that design choice was made by someone that doesn't even practice Kendo. So it's not, I'm not saying that is, I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me if it is. But like, it's just not a necessity. It makes, I've used titanium mengane. I have had men in the past with titanium mengane. I don't like them. I never use them, and I'll never put them in KendoStar boga because, like you say, they are stronger, but they also are, you know, it's not like they never break, but they are much heavier. So my advice is to avoid men with titanium mengane. There you go, said it. Hello Andy, what bokken is best suited for striking practice against a target like a tire? I want to avoid damage to the bokken or injury to myself, thank you. So if you're talking about like an old car tire, that's quite a common thing for people to use as uchikomi practice. So you can, you know, use it to strike. My advice would be to use a shinai rather than a bokken, okay? If you want to use a bokken, then use an oak bokken because they're the strongest ones. But I would recommend using a shinai, as it will flex on impact, so it's less likely to get damaged, and I think it's less likely to cause injury. But I don't know, I'm not an expert on injuries, so could be wrong on that front. But normally in Japan they use tires quite a lot for striking practice, but almost always they use a shinai to do the striking. So if you can, you'd be better off using a shinai. Also, the tare is going to what am I talking about? The tire is going to probably mark up your bokken as well. You're going to get black marks on it and stuff off the rubber. The same could happen to a shinai, though, to be fair. My son has recently asked if I'll give him kendo lessons. He'll be 5 on Saturday, so I wanted to give him a good grounding to get started. He knows how to hold a shinai and basic kamae, but do you or any kendo of the kendo RANT community have any advice on good things to teach at such a young age? I look forward to hearing your thoughts. And I do remember as well that you did ask me to wish Harrison a very happy birthday. Happy 5th birthday, Harrison. Good luck with Kendo. I'm sure you'll be super strong. Grow up big and strong. Eat your vegetables. Make sure you do that. Okay? Not too many sweeties. Plenty of vegetables. Make you big and strong. And good at Kendo like your daddy. Okay? So good on you there, mate. In terms of your question, in all honesty, at 5, they don't retain very much. All right. So there'd be a lot of dojos in Japan. There's a lot of dojos in Japan that won't take on 5-year-olds. They won't take them on until first year of what is their elementary school, so that's 6 or 7. I tend to find they don't start to properly retain information until they're about 7 or 8. But at this stage, I think you're better off just doing anything that will keep them interested in it. And my wife used to teach nursery kids that are about that age, and essentially I think one thing that is worth going through is your kamae and your holding the shinai, and let him swing it about. Don't be too sort of pedantic on the technique. You can start clamping down on that when he gets to sort of 7, 8 and 9. There's not a great, let me put it this way, right? There's not a great deal of difference between between a kid that starts Kendo at 7 years old and a kid that starts Kendo at 9 years old when they become adults, all right? Or even at 12-year-old, by the time they become adults, they all end up at a similar level if they all put the same thing in. There's not a huge, it's not like they get a huge, massive thing there. So, and take him through the Deiho, all right? Definitely take him through the Deiho, how to sit in Caesar, how to do, Mokuso and do Dei. Make sure you teach him that, all right? So that he's used to that. I think that's the best thing, all right? But don't expect too much. Try and make it a bit of fun. And, don't be too strict on the technique, all right? Not till he's about 8, and then you can be really mean like I am. I'm just kidding. I'm only mean to my own kids. Not a question, just a statement. I'm starting Kendo for the first time on April the 11th. I'm sure I'll be the oldest student, especially for a uni club. Just excitement. Great. Well, that's fantastic. It's great to hear you starting out Kendo. Don't worry about being the oldest student there. I'm sure you'll have a great time. Do your best. And look forward to welcoming you into the community. Hi Andy, have you thought of selling Hakama for wider people so that they can have Hakama where the pleats sit nice without having to pay out for tailored items? Thanks. Okay, yes, I have thought about this. It's something I'm exploring. Before I go further on that, when you say pay out for tailored items, we don't charge for tailored items at KendoStar. If you wanted a wider Hakama from us, you can have any of the Hakama that we sell for the price we sell it at, and we'll make it tailored to your size for no extra cost. The downside, of course, is you'll have to wait for it because we'll have to get it made, so it takes like eight weeks, depending on how crazy the world is. But we don't charge extra for that, all right? So don't ever worry about having to pay extra for it. We generally will do that for free. In terms of keeping them in stock, though, it's a bit of a harder question because we don't have unlimited space. And the stock control of uniforms is already extremely an extremely challenging aspect of our business. Because we don't have hundreds of different types of uniforms. We have a handful of what I think are the best types, and we have them available in every size pretty much, and that results in a lot of stock, all right? Even from just the sort of, is it four different uniform types we have? So that's 8 items. Make it 10 if you include the white ones, and then each of them in every different size. And we have to get a lot of them so that we can get them cheaper, so we can sell them cheaper, and so that we have stuff ready to send when you order it. So so then adding to that with a wider version of every size, or even the more popular sizes, it's a challenging prospect. It's something I'm exploring. I'm not saying no, but I'm also not saying yes. All right. But if you want it, we can do it for free. You just have to be patient and wait. Next one. Thanks for your answer last week. Your advice on setting the men down on the kote worked really well. This week, my question is, how does the tenuchi and kata different from the tenuchi with the shinai? I feel like I use normal tenuchi, I'm going to whack my partner with the bokken. Yeah, you are. I think it was 2 rants ago, this exact question was asked about that I'd mentioned that the tenouchi with the shinai and the tenouchi with the bokken was different, because you don't use the shinai the same way as you actually use a real sword. Even the way you hold it is a bit different. So, and I know that probably puts some people's nose out of joint, and I know I've seen comments out there on it. But, you know, look, I follow what the All Japan Kendo Federation teach. So, you know, if you disagree with that, that's fine, but that's what I do. So, but, okay, let me get a shinai and a bokken so that I can show you the difference again, okay? Oof, okay, here we go. So, shinai, bokken, okay? So it's coming a bit untied, but, right, okay. So, first, let me address the difference, all right? So, with a shinai, all right? With a shinai, you're going to hit like this, yeah? Men. Mem. Yeah? Mem. You're going to use your wrists here. Like this bit. Like that. Pam. Like that. Kote. Kote. Mem. Yeah? Men. If you do that, this bit, yeah? If you do that with a bokken, as you rightly say, you're going to whack your partner in the head, all right? When you do your kata. And you don't want to do that, all right? I don't want you to do that either. When you're doing with a bokken, men, you're pulling more this way as opposed to pulling. You still pull with a shinai, but you push over with the wrists here as well. But with a bokken, you don't do that, yeah? They do ya, to, yeah? Okay? Or, what's the different one? The kote one, yeah? I'm doing this from sat in a chair, but here, to, yeah? It's not to, like that, yeah? To, yeah? So, it's different, okay? Ya, to, yeah? So, there's definitely a difference there. You use a shinai like that, you're going to break your shinai, you're not going to achieve the proper effective datotsu. It's not going to be the yuko datotsu because you're not going to have what's called sae, which is a prerequisite of yuko datotsu with a shinai, okay? Now, just going back to this slightly, I know I've been already recording this for quite long, but the shinai is not supposed to be used in the same way as a sword. You might want it to be used the same way as a sword. You might want to think that the shinai is supposed to be a replacement for a katana, but it's not, all right? The Zenkennen, the All Japan Kendo Federation, have literally put that in black and white, that it is not supposed to be a direct replacement for a katana, all right? So you do not use it the same, all right? It's wrong to try and use the shinai the same as you would use a katana, right? Any kendo teachers out there that have tried to teach kendo to somebody that is quite advanced at iaido will tell you that they've encountered this exact problem, yeah? Because in iai or kenjutsu, stuff like that, they learn how to use a sword as a sword. And then when you come to a shinai, you have to use it differently, right? That doesn't mean that if you use the sword like a shinai, it wouldn't cut, right? Before someone posts that video of the guy doing the tameshigiri, doing the kendo cuts, and it still cuts. Yeah, it probably would. It's a sword. If you whack something with it, it's going to cut it. But, yeah, this is kendo rant. That's why I'm ranting on this, right? It's not about that, yeah? It's shallow to consider the shinai as an instrument for cutting an opponent. That isn't what it is. The shinai has far surpassed the katana in that regard, okay? In terms of its purposes for kendo, okay? So, rant over. Okay? That's why they use the word datotsu, yeah? Men uchi. They all mean strike. They don't mean cut. It's not men giri or something like that, all right? I don't even know the Japanese linguistics on that. How do I fight in Tsubazeriai properly, or in general engagement in that locked situation? I feel like it's heavily under practiced in general, and we automatically disengage and separate after Tayatari without spending time in Tsubazeriai. How do I apply Seme and Sen when being in that situation, if application is possible? Great question. It's a bit of a tough one to delve into just in Kendo RANT, but where's that shinai that I just had? So in Tsubazeriai, okay, it is definitely under practiced. After you make the strike, you come to Tsubazeriai, all right? And don't just relax and walk back, all right? You're still fighting at Tsubazeriai, okay? And the Tsubas and Tsubas are crossed. You're not fist to fist, Tsuba to Tsuba, okay? Here, okay? And you sort of use this part of the shinai to control the center line, just as you would with this part of the shinai when you are doing normal shinai kosa. Okay, so just as I was finishing up that answer, I just found out that the audio sort of went a bit nuts. So yeah, what I just said, use the shinai as I explained. Use the lower part, the door, and the tsuba as you would use the kensen. As you interact with your opponent, apply seme, and those sort of concepts are just as important, and they apply in exactly the same way. Tsubazeriai is an important integral part of Kendo. You must practice it, okay? You must practice it. Hi, Andy. My question this week is, what is the average time span that it takes someone to reach Shodan? Also, are non-Japanese able to reach 8th dan? So, it depends. It really depends on where you are in the world. There's countries that require you to do all of the Q grades first before you're able to take Shodan. Others that don't, like the country I'm in now in the UK, and Japan as well, don't require that either. But it depends. It depends. Most people, if they're practicing Kendo seriously, like a couple of times a week, usually get it within 2 to 3 years. But people that are like crazy nuts about it, like I was, I think I got it in 11 months, 10, 11 months, something like that. So it's possible. Just, it's up to you. About non-Japanese able to reach 8th dan. Yeah, there's a few non-Japanese 8th dans. So yeah, that is definitely possible. And there's even non-Japanese 8th dans that passed 8th dan in Japan. So cool. In the before time, you could visit public dojos. I know you have mentioned what to do to visit a private dojo, but what is someone to do if they want to visit a public dojo, say like the Shudokan in Osaka? And what is the practice like as it differs from a private dojo? I know as I've been and do it, but some others might want to join once the after time has smoothed itself out. So good question. So yeah, most dojos in Japan are like private dojos, but there are a few public ones, like the Shudokan in Osaka. Beautiful dojo. I've never practiced there, but I have seen it in the grounds of Osaka Castle. Fantastic place. I'd love to practice there one day. So I don't know exactly how the practice works there. But I used to practice at the Butokuden in Kyoto, which is another very open public practice where you just turn up. You don't need an introduction or anything. You just turn up on the times and days. You write your name down and you grade and you pay your 500 yen, and then you kind of go with the flow. Because it could change a little bit depending on the teacher there. But it's usually different teachers every day. So it depends. It's easier if there's somebody that you can go with that normally goes there, especially if you don't speak any Japanese. But they're usually quite open, and it's usually like an hour of mainly like motodachi geiko, which is like the senseis will stand in a line and you all queue up to do a short jigeiko with them. Or they might even be kind enough to allow you to do kokari geiko. Next one. Hi Andy, I keep hearing about old Japanese senseis, how we'll never see anyone like them again, and that they are special in a way. I'm of the mindset that we have made many advances in sports science, training techniques, and knowledge about the human body, which leads me to the conclusion that the next generation should be much better. What's your take on that? And what do people mean when they say the phrase mentioned at the beginning? Thanks. So it's a really good question. And the reason that people say that, and I've said it myself, and I do think it, is because those older senseis, those older generations that sort of, went to university, and like, especially some of these hardcore Kendo universities in like the 70s and 80s and stuff, like, and even before that, people that went to like the Budo Senmon Gakko and stuff, like, they were some hardcore training that you just don't see anymore. Like, it's just hardcore. And yeah, I mean, it produces these sensei that, what has produced these sensei that have got this sort of real indomitable spirit. And it's not about sports science or knowledge of the human body or any of that sort of thing. It's about their, what do you call it, like their soul. Which like sounds really weird, but like if you stand against like an 88-year-old ninth dan like I have, and feel helpless like I did, you'll know what I mean. It's something else. Now, that isn't to say that the next generation of senseis won't even go further than that, because of developments of sports science, coaching methodology, biology, that sort of thing. It might well do, but we won't know until the time comes. So time will tell on that regard. I mean, there's no doubt that the technique is getting better from a technical point of view, but it's not a technical thing. Just stuck on the whole pushing thing. Sorry. So when you have your opponent close to the boundary, is it really okay to push them out? I shouldn't feel bad. Shouldn't feel bad or unsportsmanlike in any way. Sorry, I need my hand held throughout the topic. No, you shouldn't feel bad about it. Look, it's a good question, because I know it's something a lot of people worry about, right? But it's unsportsmanlike and it's not honourable, yeah, to not give your opponent everything, because by doing so, you are denying them an honest shinai experience, which is crucial for their kendo development. All right. If I was in the shinai and I maybe did the hikiwaza or something like that, and I ended up close to the line, and my opponent sort of came towards me, and then stopped and was like, didn't push me out, even though I was perhaps off balance, and then I went on to win the shinai. And then afterwards, I'd be like, why didn't you push me out? Like, I thought he was going to push me out. And they were like, yeah, I don't think that's sportsmanlike. I'd feel like it was a bit of a hollow victory. And that kind of, they let me off the hook. So I'd be disappointed, to be honest. So yeah, that's not the same, of course, as like trying to win at all costs with reckless abandon and doing stupid, crazy stuff that are dangerous. But that doesn't happen often, If it was unsportsmanlike to push your opponent out of the shiaijo, why would we need to have a shiaijo? We wouldn't, yeah. I mean, I guess you could say it's to stop people just going backwards, but like that's part of it, isn't it? It's not just the fact that you can't just keep walking out. I mean, if you get pushed out, you're out. So I really don't think it's unsportsmanlike to do that. Obviously, if you're like just trying to push them out, that's different. What we're talking about is within the realms of like what is the general back and forth of a competitive, an earnestly and honestly competitive shinai, where both are doing their very best and utmost to win, which you must do. Otherwise, you're doing a disservice to your partner. Hi Andy, when disengaging, do you have to go all the way to Torma before making a strike, or can you make a strike mid disengage? This is a good one. This is a really good one. Look, let's keep this simple, all right? Because I know I've been going on for a long time now. You have to go all the way to Torma, all right? 9 times out of 10, you have to go all the way to Torma. Otherwise, it's not actually considered Yuko Datotsu by most people, in most referees in Japan. In Europe, or in America or in other places, I don't know how it is, but I know in Europe, that's sometimes ignored. And people are given points that wouldn't be given in Japan, and that's something of a contentious point in Japan when they talk about shinai abroad. Yeah, if you're into Tsubazeriai and you both start to separate, and then one of you makes a strike, that's generally not considered valid. And even in some like high school tournaments, that's actually a hand soccer. Now. All right. I'm not sure how I feel about it, if I'm honest with you. Sort of, if I give my honesty, I'm not sure if it has to be like that or it should be like that. But that's what the Zenkenden say, and I follow what they say, as I alluded to earlier in the video. So yeah, essentially, that's the answer, right? I know my computer keeps making funny noises. Sorry if that picks it up. Last one. In your opinion, which age bracket do you feel is approaching Kendo more? I'm asking in regards to non-Japanese participants, early adulthood, or later in life. While many say it's listed as a Budo, it's not a defensive or offensive martial art in terms of self-defense. To me, it's for self-betterment, if that's even a word. So, I'm not sure I fully understand the question, but I think most people outside of Japan come to Kendo a bit later in life. I know there's some people start in university, but then lots of them quit after they graduate. So I think most people start Kendo probably in between their 30s and 50s, which is, which is great, because Kendo is very adaptable to that. Which I think is good. In terms of it being listed as a Budo, I actually personally think that the Budo is not supposed to be a defensive or offensive martial art for self-defense. That's why it's Budo. Like, it's supposed to be about self-improvement, and that should be the same across all Budo, but I don't know if it is or not. There's people that don't think that about Kendo as well, so I don't know. That's it for today. I know it's a long one. Thanks for sticking with me all the way to the end. Don't forget to shop at KendoStar to support the channel, like, share, subscribe, all that sort of thing. See you all next week. Bye bye.